It's the Security Weekly News. It's the first week of June 2025. Welcome to Chemtrail Daily. We've got you're gonna love these. We've got Bovril. If you don't know what that is, you will soon, and you'll wish you hadn't. Deranged Hookworm, Crocodilus, Cartier, Jinx, Conti, Scattered Spider, Josh Marpet, and more on the Security Weekly News.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
It's the show that keeps you up to date on the latest security news twice a week. Your trusted source for accurate security information and expert analysis. It's time for the Security Weekly News. Imagine a world where every threat, ransomware, supply chain attacks, zero-day exploits, is stopped before it can even begin. ThreatLocker makes that world a reality with a zero-trust approach to cybersecurity. By giving you granular control on every executable that can happen in your environment, ThreatLocker protects your business around the clock. No more guessing, no more gaps, just rock-solid protection that keeps your operations running smoothly and your data secure. Discover how ThreatLocker's least privilege approach can safeguard your organization against known and unknown threats. Take the first step toward total peace of mind. Visit securityweekly.com/ThreatLocker today. All right, I'm Doug White, and it's the Security Weekly News. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment, or I'll give you one of those weird, threat actor names that we're going to talk about. I mean, I'm going to, and you're not going to like it, and you're going to want to change it, and it'll never get changed. So you're going to end up being like Slippery Paperclip or something like that, and you'll be sorry that you got that name. So do what I say. All right. Speaking of which, after all these years of 13 different groups being named 13 different things by 13 different companies, someone, in this case Microsoft, has decided that maybe we should standardize wacky threat group names. Is Microsoft calling you Deranged Hookworm, and Cisco is calling you Bloated Wombat, and Mandiant is calling you NCC 1701? I get it. I mean, not only is it offensive to the threat group, it's damned confusing to everybody too. Did you get attacked by Tossed Octopus and Baby Horatio, or are they both the same thing? And who should I call? And if I use the wrong name when I call the wrong group, does everybody get all confused and they send in the wrong team? I don't know. Well, anyway, Microsoft and CrowdStrike have said that they want to develop a common vocabulary so that we know who we are up against consistently across all boundaries. Now, I'm waiting for them to call me to lead it. I mean, come on, guys. I was born to make up names for things. You know that by now. And I would be the best. And so call me. I mean, seriously. But in all seriousness, it's a good idea. It's also a good idea to call me and put me in charge of it. But that's okay. It's okay. I mean, but what if there were like 7 different names for a giant windstorm resulting from a low pressure system off the coast? In Rhode Island, we call it Blingy Muck Muck, but in New York, they say hyphenated crystal pipe. It gets really confusing really fast. It's why we come up with standard names for things so that everybody knows what we're talking about. I mean, think about Midnight Blizzard. They're also called APT-29, UNC-2452, and Cozy Bear. And this is one of the biggest groups there is, right? They've been around the longest. We've known Cozy Bear for years, but everybody calls them different things. This is just, everybody wants to do their own thing. But under this initiative that's been proposed, each country would have a specific name to designate threat actors' nation of origin and also their aim. So wait, this actually makes sense? Now, of course, all the countries are going to get to fight over who gets the cool names, right? It's like nobody's going to want to be like, Stinky Lily Pad or whatever. But they already apparently have it all worked out, I guess. So it's just one of those like, no input needed. Private threat actors, they said, would start with like something. Financially motivated attacks have a different name. I think Tempest. The U.S. is apparently Tornado, and China is Typhoon. Ukraine is Frost. So I don't know. I don't know if Tornado is a cool name or not. It's like pro wrestling or something at this point. But Microsoft said that CrowdStrike, Google, Mandiant, and Palo Alto have all signed on to this standardization. Waiting for your calls, guys. This is Shy Bladder signing off. Yeah. Crocodilus. Crocodilus was first reported back in March of this year by Threat Fabric. It's a piece of malware that targets Android, and it was really kind of a dinky, clunky tool that it wasn't really well seen. But basically, the initial feature of it was it popped up and said, you need to back up your Cristo wallet within 12 hours or you'll lose access to it forever. Click here to do so. I guess that works. I mean, probably people are like, oh my God. But it was only used in some small campaigns in Turkey, but apparently it's back. And now it has a much more sophisticated approach. So, I mean, amongst all sorts of download capabilities and everything else, one of its latest ability is adding a fake contact to the device on the fly. So they can send a code to your device and it will add a fake contact to that device. So that means when a call comes in, the contact name, profile, it didn't say what all they could add to this contact. I know they had a picture or whatever, but basically when that specific command goes out, it creates a new contact using the content provider API. So they can push something to you and then call. So you get like a call and it's got a bank name or a company name, or I guess a person, and it's related, of course, to you taking the call. So the malware is evolving quickly and demonstrating a commitment to social engineering, which makes it pretty bad. So anyway, the malware, of course, is acquired via, the usual paths, downloading apps from non-Google Play sites. Imagine that. But I mean, not that you can't get malware on Google Play sites. They just try to keep it under control. Whereas when you go to Henry's Android download site, you don't know what you might get. But the advice for this is to use Google Play Store only, or at least trusted publishers. So don't just click anything you see. And then also to ensure that Play Protect is always active, and maybe just don't download everything you see. I mean, I've known people like this. You know who you are, Mark. You know, something pops up and it's like, oh, cool, I'll download this. And the next thing you know, they're like, I have organized all of my apps into multiple folders and I have 4 terabytes, and you're like, okay, now I can play Snake on my 3310 if you want to see it. Yeah. This thing probably still works. I go in there and get it out of the box. You'll see. Well, even stores that won't allow me inside can get breached. I mean, Cartier disclosed a data breach on Monday, and they said that an unauthorized party gained access to its systems and obtained some client information, kind of like me as an unauthorized party gained access to their private tent at that event and was drinking their champagne until they noticed and made me leave. Yeah, I mean, they were like, who are you? And I was like, I'm with Steve, I think. And they're like, point Steve out to us. And I was like, see that guy in that tux over there? I think it's him. And they were like, no, it's not. He's security. You're done. I was like, oh, damn it. But anyway, for once, I was not on the list. So I don't think Cartier had any information on me, but they may have a picture on on the wall of some of their stores. But I mean, I can't afford to buy a $35,000 bracelet, but whatever. I mean, I don't know the price of a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk either. I mean, I do know the price of cigars and whiskey though. So if you need that, I can help. But anyway, a notification was sent out to Cartier clients that said that the data included names, email addresses, countries of residence, but it said that no passwords, credit card numbers, or banking information was involved. So it's just big shots, names, and what country they live in and their address, which I guess could be problematic, right? Because you know who shops at Cartier. So I guess the story is that it was Cartier. I mean, it didn't sound that remarkable, but the story also included information about Victoria's Secret getting attacked. And if you don't know what Victoria's Secret is, it's like a lingerie store they have in Vegas or something. And they used to do fashion shows. Yeah, that kind of stuff. I think they quit doing that because it got a little, but apparently their website got taken down this week too. So there's big targeting. Victoria's Secret won't let me back in either for some reason. I guess that's why we can't have nice things. But I mean, the big warning with these is always that, these kind of compromises are going to happen. I mean, I think that's one. And the other is that it's going to lead to spear phishing. So if I use Crocodilus to call you about the $35,000 bracelet you bought for beachwear being a fake, and you need to call immediately to find out what to do about it, that might actually work, right? I mean, I know where you live. I know we could send something right over to your home if you'd like us to take care of that today. But how about Victoria's Secret calling to tell you that the lingerie you bought might be contaminated? Yeah, we won't say what it was contaminated with, but I at least don't need to worry in either case. But Cartier calling me would be the most likely, them telling me I could come sweep up sometime, when the store is closed, but please enter through the servant's entrance. Big shot CISOs like Josh might be shopping and offended if they saw me. My troll-like presence cleaning up. Yeah. Okay. We won't go there.
You're not
Speaking of names,
troll-like. You're
what?
not troll-like. That would be troll, adjacent.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take that, Barb. I'll get you next time when you're not on. But speaking of names, Jinx 013. God, who named that? Jinx 0132, which is also called Slappy Uvula by me. Apparently, Jinx is targeting Docker, HashiCorp Nomad, HashiCorp Console, and Gatia, according to the Wiz threat research team. Now, they're apparently trying to deploy XMRig crypto mining software, which makes a lot of sense in this case, because guess what all those products do? Docker, Nomad, Console, and Gatia are all either ephemeral ephemeral tools or ephemeral management tools. So, I use Docker all the time. And when I think about it, I get nervous, right? I mean, I was thinking yesterday about how many ephemeral Dockers did I spin up every day and spin down in my IDS lab, and what Dockers are they using and so forth. I mean, if somebody compromises Python Slim, which sounds like a porn actor who mostly does Western porn. Is Western a thing? Is Western porn a thing? Howdy, partner. I'm here to fix the plumbing in the outhouse. Yeah, I mean, so if somebody compromises Python Slim, and we won't even go there, but that would be scary, right? I mean, because I use that particular component a lot. Nomad's another one that I don't actually use, but Nomad instances manage hundreds and hundreds of clients, and it's a scheduler and orchestrator tool. And so Jinx abused default configs, and here's the kicker. Wait for it. Jinx abused the default config on exposed servers, and then they downloaded and executed XMRig from GitHub. I mean, all the malicious tasks had these seemingly random names made up of lowercase letters, which sounds a lot like something I would do. I mean, my dad always said, son, if you want to make a lot of money, you're going to have to be more evil. And I just was never good at being evil. I was just good at being, a miscreant. But the DevOps tool being targeted by Jinx were noted to be present across a quarter of all cloud environments, with HashiCorp Console running on more than 20% of those environments. But here's where it hurts. Out of all the environments, 5% were exposed to the internet, and 30% of the exposed internet instances were found to be misconfigured. So look, just like we've been saying forever, don't expose your environments. Come on. I mean, if you got people that need access to them, fine, but you're going to have to secure those and isolate them. And if you've got people going in there, they need to be going in via VPN, unless there's some kind of publicly facing instance, which has to be publicly facing, in which case you better isolate that thing in a DMZ and make sure it can't cause any problems. So, don't expose your environments. It's just 5% of you, but that's enough. That's a lot. Just stop it. Well, a whistleblower has apparently outed the leader behind TrickBot and the Conti ransomware gang. More Western reference. The Conti ransomware gang just rode into town on a TrickBot. That's sort of like cyberpunk Western, right? Yeah, I don't think that's a thing either. I mean, those are big time operations. I mean, how many people have not heard of TrickBot and Conti? I mean, those are really, really big ones. I mean, Conti's run some of these big attacks on lots of people, including Exagrid, who paid a $2.6 million ransom last year, and some of the casinos and others. Now, Conti, when the illegal invasion of the Ukraine occurred by Russia, Conti immediately came out and pledged loyalty to Russia. And they also, in that same statement of loyalty to Russia, threatened the United States if the United States made any effort to support the Ukraine. Now, the United States sort of retaliated by listing a $15 million bounty, dead or alive, that came from the U.S. State Department. And of course, as you might guess, when there's $15 million to be paid out, some leaks have resulted in the group, and that has made Conti be a little bit in disarray at this time. But apparently the former operators of Conti continue conducting criminal activities. Well, early last month, an anonymous whistleblower who goes by the handle Gang Exposed published a bunch of leaks data identifying the Conti leader as Vitaly Nikhailovich Kovalev, who had also been named as a leading figure within the TrickBot gang by the U.S. Treasury in 2023. So obviously, this maybe was for pay. I don't know if Gang Exposed was going to get some of this money or what. But Kovalev uses the alias Stern online and was also indicted as being responsible for Royal, which is another ransomware gang that's been around since about 2023. Gang Exposed claimed that Kovalev currently holds more than $500 million in cryptocurrency. The German Federal Criminal Police Office corroborated these leaks at the end of May. So they went in and said, yep, this looks legit to us. The German police also said that TrickBot likely has more than 100 total members in the group, which I guess doesn't totally surprise me. But that TrickBot group is also known as Wizard Spider, if you didn't know that. So, that's another one of these names, Wizard Spider. So Silo Breaker said that regardless of who Gang Exposed actually is, a researcher as claimed or a competing criminal who just wants, some of their arch rivals done away with, some of the TrickBot and Conti members may have to take a holiday at the Dhaka in Sochi for a while. Yeah. Scattered Spider, not Wizard Spider. Scattered Spider is another threat group with a cool name that has had a lot of coverage regarding the targeting of retailers. Much like we don't know if they're involved in some of these other threats that came up this week. Their main approach is social engineering, though. I mean, why spend all that time grubbing around in the muck looking for some 0-day when you can just call O'Gill and get him to give you the credentials and tokens? Or better still, since O'Gill really wanted to go down to the track this afternoon, just say, turn the whole thing over to his good friend Marco from the help desk via remote control. I mean, this is the simplest avenue. It worked in 1982. It works today. It's been working all the way down the line. I mean, it basically plays on the infinite series of employees. I can call as many times to as many people, and it eventually becomes an infinite series. And just finding that right person who's just, I just want to help. I mean, I know this is really cynical, but that was exactly what we did at the bank. And we just kept calling people until somebody went, oh, let me help you, son. My name is Marianne. And you're like, well, thank you, Marianne. It's so great of you to help me. I'm getting ready to get you fired. But I mean, one of the main tactics of Scattered Spider is just calling and saying, I have a new phone. Can you remove my MFA and allow me to enroll in a new one? I mean, it's a classic SIM swap thing, but guess what? You just got to get poor old Marianne. Well, honey, that's just terrible. Let me help you with that. I tell you, my husband said to me this morning that I just ought to have a good day. And I felt so good. And there were these flowers out there by my car. And I tell you what, I'm going to do that for you right now. What number would you like associated? And it sounds ridiculous, but guess what? It happens. So a couple of things. You need to start thinking about how do you manage these devices if your company's issuing them or letting them connect to your networks, but you've got to require multi-party approval for admin level account resets. I mean, you're just going to have to. I know it sucks. And it means poor old Marianne can't take care of that customer, make them happy, because guess what? That customer may be a scam artist. You may need to use in-person verification for things like SIM swaps. I mean, but even that doesn't work, right? Because somebody just walks into a store somewhere and goes, hello, I lost my phone out there on the street and now I'm screwed. I need a new phone. Can you help me set it up? And, again, poor old Marianne's like, oh, that's just terrible, honey. You on vacation here? Like, I am. And my family's crying. They're all in the hotel. It's just like so sad. And my great aunt Trish has got like a disease and she's probably going to die and we can't check on her. And, I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, let me help you with that, honey. And the next thing you know, somebody gets SIM swapped. You may want to freeze self-service resets when suspicious behaviors occur. I mean, a lot of this is tricky to do, right? I mean, it's easy to say, it's harder to put in place, but most of you got to be paranoid and your employees have got to be paranoid too. I mean, at the bank, if I called from an outside line, which I always did, it did a double ring, like a British ring. And they trained people about that. And guess what? We tested it. They forgot within seconds. We would call and go, hi, when your phone rang, was it an inside or an outside line? You've been to the training, right? And they're like, oh, yeah. I'm going to say inside. Nope, outside. I mean, we did a study on it, and the people literally could not remember this. I mean, it was almost like you need to put a giant flashing light that went like, you are on an outside line. You are on an outside line the whole time. And they still probably would have been like, I put my earplugs in so I don't have to listen to that crap. But you're going to have to train people not to trust people. I mean, that's just the bottom line. You're going to have to put in some kind of system to validate calls from your help desk to employees, maybe a code word. Maybe it's just like, I mean, not that somebody couldn't get the code word, right? Maybe it changes every hour. I don't know. There got to be some kind of identity management you could put in place, a callback system where, the help desk policy is we will never call you directly. We will ask you to call us, and then the employee should validate the number. Of course, guess what? People are going to get, none of it's going to work. You're going to have something, DNA, drops of blood. I don't know, but if you don't, somebody's just going to give up the goods when Marco from IT calls. It's a huge threat in identity management, and it works. It's been working. It will continue to work. It works on large organizations. It works on Sid's car wash on Astoria Boulevard. Hey, Sid. But so you need a plan and a response for your people when the New York help desk calls. And they know all the right names and they know all the right numbers. And, oh, yeah, it's a live video stream of a guy that works there that was generated by a deep fake, right? And it starts trying to get old Gil to reset something as a test, like the nuclear launch codes. I mean, I don't know, but it doesn't have to be anything that serious. All right, you're gonna hate me for this one. I'm telling you, you will. I'm gonna teach you about something you'll wish you'd never heard of in your life. Yeah, I'm serious. Beef Bovril.
Jesus Christ.
But I'm also going to teach you about an epic sci-fi novel. I mean, now I don't know if you know what beef Bovril, and I don't even know how to say it is, but I've tasted it. But it's one of those things, well, only people who live through food shortages, depressions, rationing, and that kind of thing can truly love. Like my dad, he loved things like that. You're like, what are you eating? And he's like, these are called Vienna sausages. And I'm like, what are those things made of? He's like, I don't know. They taste good. I'm like, oh, potted meat. I was like, what is that? Well, beef Bovril or however you say it is this dark jar. It's got this really cheery red label on it, and it contains some kind of slurry that's made up of meat, salt, oil, and who knows, secret ingredients. And it's billed as a beef paste. And you can spread it on, crackers or whatever. But it was designed in the 19th century to preserve meat for that long voyage when we didn't have refrigeration. And, the fact that you weren't eating rotten rat meat in a sewer made this seem to be more appealing because that's what you were doing yesterday. And now you've got a big jar of some kind of beef spread. And it's like, this is so much better than what I was eating before. But, and apparently there's even a recipe where you can make this into a hot drink. A hot beef drink. Yeah. I can see a challenge on Security Weekly for that. Like they all have to chug shots of beef Bovril drink. Yeah.
No.
I suggested it. But I mean, I guess, when you're dying of scurvy in the Sargasso Sea, a big steaming glass of beef soda seems pretty just, like the thing you were craving the most. That and lemons, of course, but I mean, well, the product name was of interest in this story, and this doesn't have much to do with technology, but I want to introduce you to another thing. The name of the product is based on BOV for bovine, always a sign of quality, and Vril. What is Vril? Well, here I'm going to tell you what it is. It was a it was a race of weird people, aliens, that were at the bottom of this well in an 1871 sci-fi novel, which is called The Coming Race. It's very H.G. Wells classic if you like sci-fi and this kind of stuff. So it was a huge success. It was originally published anonymously, but the author was Edward Bulwer Lytton. And, this is like classic stuff, right? Because this is like groundbreaking. And I love all those early classic books like The King in Yellow, which is classic horror from the 19th century. And I mean, you sit down and look at this stuff today and you go, wow, I can see so many elements of modern horror in The King in Yellow. And you can also see so many elements of sci-fi stuff in The Coming Race, which is this very, very classic story. But its other claim to fame, and probably the biggest reason I brought it up, because I honestly did not know this. It was the first time anyone ever that we know of used the line, "It was a dark and stormy night," to open their novel. Something we constantly, I even tell students not to do stuff like that. Like if your paper starts with a clause, just get rid of it right now. I don't want to hear it. So you might want to read it. I mean, it's you can get it for free on the Gutenberg project. So why not, right? And hey, pour yourself a big steaming glass of Bovril while you're at it. Yum. Speaking of fans of Bovril, Josh is not one of them. But please welcome Josh Marpet. Hi, Josh.
Oh my God, Doug. So I had to look it up because I was like, this is not really a story, is it? And it is, and he's right. But do you know what it was called before it was called Bovril?
Oh God, I don't.
Johnston's Fluid Beef.
Oh, there you go. I'm going to buy that domain, fluidbeef.com.
Oh my God. That's just wrong, dude.
Oh my God, Johnston's Fluid Beef. I did not know that. I've tasted it. It's like Marmite,
So you had
you know.
the fluid beef.
Put that and Marmite on one piece of bread and eat it all together. And
They're basically cousins. Bovril is beef derived. Vegemite and Marmite are yeast derived.
yeah,
But they're basically cousins for nutrition. And it dates back to when it was hard to feed an army on the move.
yeah.
So
And they didn't have refrigeration, so you got to have a way. You know, it's like putting oysters in a barrel. It was why people always ate. I actually have a letter that was written by a distant relative, actually a direct relative of mine from a long time ago, who was in the Civil War. And I have a letter that he wrote home, and he was talking about, and it's really cool because he says, old Abe sent us pickles and oysters for Thanksgiving. And he was, ripping on Abraham Lincoln for the food that they were getting. But because oysters stay alive in seawater, you just dump them in a barrel and seal it up, and pickles, keep for a long time.
oh my God, I never thought about that. That's interesting. Okay,
And,
anyway.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
Sidetrack
AI.
Security Weekly.
Let's switch from historical foods to AI, okay? minor shift.
Yeah.
So I found a fascinating article about AI, and I really like this one because it merges legal and justice and privacy and AI and all kinds of topics. The idea, it's from Dark Reading. What a great source. I love Dark Reading. And many kudos to them. But the article is all about the weighting of data in an AI. Okay, let me explain. When you want to answer a question, you want to know that I'm getting the most complete, most correct answer. Because remember, AI at this point is autocomplete on steroids, okay? You're not necessarily getting the best answer, you're getting the most popular answer. So you have to weight the data that goes into the model, which teaches it how to answer questions. And if you weight it properly, you get really good answers out. If you weight it improperly, you get some really weird stuff out the door, okay? So weighting of the data, and I'm not saying you put it on a scale. You say this one is more important than this one, okay, by a factor of 5 or 20 or whatever it is. But the problem is that the commercial models from OpenAI and Anthropic and Google and so on and so forth do not release the weightings. They don't tell you how their data is weighted. Well, this is a problem because what happens if I need a certain type of data or a word? I mean, how often do we argue about the definitions of words? So if I need a certain type of data or a word to have a certain definition or a certain meaning or a certain weight, and I don't know what it is if I use the Anthropic AI or the OpenAI, how can I make sure that it's going to answer my questions properly? Do you remember the old game where there was a square in the middle of the screen and you shone lasers into it and you had to determine what the internal structure of the square was from the path the lasers took? And that's effectively what people are doing. You ask a million questions and sort of figure out what the weighting of the data is by the answers that you get out. But it's blind. It's like blind SQL injection with a million corners, okay? Where the Chinese models that have come out, DeepSeek and so forth, have actually been open weighted. In other words, you're not only allowed to see the weighting, you're allowed to change it for your usage, your instance, your iteration of the model. Okay, that's really cool because then I can make sure it's answering the questions the way that I need them answered. It's answering, not that the data is different, but that the way that it's answering questions, the way that it, for lack of a better word, thinks, is the same way I want it to think. I want you to think like a data analytics person. I want you to think like a mortgage broker. I want you to think like you pick your terminology and your perspective. But the perspective that it gets is the one that I want it to have. And since it's open source and since it's open weighting, I can make that happen. That's really cool. So, okay, so I talked about privacy. How does that relate? Well, if I can have open weightings, I can see what weightings it has on the privacy of data, what weightings it has on how the data is used, what weightings it has on where the data comes from. We're actually running into a problem. We're running out of human created data to feed to the AIs. They are actually pulling old data, like if you have old data sets, People will buy them from you.
Mhm.
It's crazy. Okay. If you have billions and billions of usernames and passwords, people will buy them to build a hacking AI. If you have street addresses from the 1800s, I don't know, I'm making crap up. They will buy them from you to determine a GIS AI and things like that. So the point is, or they'll just steal them from you is typically what we're seeing, by the way, just to be clear. So it's fascinating stuff that the weightings are open source. It's forcing Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, Azure to open up their weightings. It's putting a lot of pressure on them to do it, at least, which means that we're actually going to be able to increase privacy, increase customizability, and increase the usability of these AIs. I think that's fascinating, and I'm really looking forward to that. Now, there's more to this as well. Regulation is also doing the same thing. If you remember the NIST AI risk management framework, one of its core values is transparency. And I love that, by the way. That's my favorite core value for the NIST AI risk management framework. And yes, I'm seriously a geek about this crap. And it's weird, but that's my favorite one. Okay. So the point is that the transparency of understanding what data it's bouncing off of, what data, the weighting of the data that's bouncing off of. If it hits the thing that goes bing, I think of AI as a pinball machine. Forgive me. But if you put your question in, your query in, and release the plunger, and it goes in there, and right now, if you use ChatGPT, it's a plate of steel on top of the pinball machine. You can't see what it hits. You hear ding, 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 ding as it goes through, right? Okay, what if it hits 15 one-pointers and only one 50-pointer? All you hear is ding, 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 ding. You don't know which ones it hits, the scoring of the ones that it hits. But if it was a plate of glass there, if it was the transparency that NIST is looking for, you'd know which ones they hit. You'd know what the weighting of the ones that it hit is. You'd know what your score is, and you know how you got there. That's the piece that we're missing. And if we get that added because of Chinese open-weighted AI models and the regulatory frameworks that are coming down to start putting some guardrails and boundaries around AI, I'm going to be very, very happy with that. And I think it's going to be absolutely lovely. So this is why regulation is good. Hint, hint, hint. Compliance isn't all bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. I agree. Compliance isn't all bad, and despite the way everybody perceives it, and it can be helpful. And sometimes you need it, and sometimes you just need it because you need it. And if you don't have it, it'll be chaos. So, thanks, Josh. Now, in the same light, I'm just this is my little warning. I have warned you before, and I will keep warning you because the more I experiment with this stuff, the more I want to be sure that you are sharing in this warning. AI, LLM, I don't care what it is, hallucinates. It does. In fact, it started to feel like a pet in that it wants to please you so badly. I mean, it really does. And the problem is these AIs that I've been dealing with have the confidence level of a Fuller Brush salesman in 1951. I mean, I literally say, I saw ChatGPT just like more than once say, I 100% guarantee this will work and solve all your problems. And I said, do you want to bet? I said, how about this? If you're wrong, you buy me a new cybersecurity building and an endowed chair. If you're right, I'll buy you an atomic powered server farm located under the polar ice cap where it can't be reached by humans. And it said, well, I can't be 100% sure. And I was like, are you a used car salesman? I 100% guarantee you that this car is in perfect working order. Well, I can't be nothing's 100%, and I said, really? You just said you were 100% guaranteed for sure. And then it said, well, I'm pretty sure. And it was wrong. What it was showing me, I knew it was wrong. It had been wrong before. And I also love it when it says something like, look, I see the problem. This line, X equals 45, should actually be X equals 45. And I go, it's the same line. And it says, wow, you have a good eye. What a brilliant observation. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm literally typing, you can quit kissing my ass now. It's not necessary. You're not getting the promotion. But we see people starting to use this all the time, just blind. I mean, so this story was about a recent law school graduate who lost his job after he used ChatGPT to draft a court filing that was filled with these kind of hallucinations in the form of legal citations that did not exist. And I'm sure that ChatGPT was like, wow, buddy, this is 100% guaranteed to be correct legal material. And he went, that's so good, man. I'm going to go play golf now while you write the rest of it. And ChatGPT went, that's right. I'll be right here working hard while you're playing golf, buddy. But I mean, look, be careful. ChatGPT and all these tools are awesome. I use them all the time, but I don't trust them, and you shouldn't trust them either. You have to validate what you're doing and test it. You can't just say, give me this, and blindly it will. They really pick up on what you want to happen and reinforce it. It's like they're con men. I mean, I've found that if you say things like, I think I should set the heap equal to XMX 2048M, do you think that's a good idea? And I mean, ChatGPT will be all over that. Oh, I love that idea. You are so smart to do that, you big handsome devil, you. I mean, even if it doesn't really seem to know what you're doing, and it doesn't, and I turn around 2 seconds later after it told me to do this and go, maybe I should just set it to 1. And it goes, 1? That's an even better idea. Oh my God, you're you're a genius. So I'm really worried about this. I mean, it works pretty well if it's an absolute and the standards have been distributed in public. Like, how many processors should I assign to a security onion node? It right out of the docs, just save me having to read all the docs, so I was able to do that. But when you ask it vague things, like if you ask it in a kind of a leading way, like you put in, like, hey, ChatGPT, should I adopt a Great Dane? I always wanted one, especially a big, drooly one with lots of psychological problems. Would you think that's a good idea? It'll probably be like, you bet, buddy. You should adopt that dog today. I'll take care of it for you, because it does say things like that, things I know it can't do. Be like, I'll feed and water it. And I'm like, well, you're just like, like my kid telling me they'll take care of that hamster. So be careful with your sycophantic AIs, or the next thing you know, you might be the head of the Department of Health or something. Play me off, boys. And that's the news. Thanks, Josh. And I hope to see you next time on the Security Weekly News, unless we get banned. Bye.